Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, we're going to talk about asters, or the family Asteraceae. I'm going to do a series of videos here just showing you some of the plants that are actually, you may not know are related in your landscape, and you probably have lots of asters. The aster family has about 32,000 species, arguably the biggest plant family. Orchids and it are very close together. Asters tend to be just all over the globe. Outside of Antarctica, they grow in the deserts of across the globe. They grow in tropical areas across the globe. You're going to find asters anywhere you travel, and many of them are in our landscapes. And so we're going to jump around, show you a few of the different things you may or may not know are related again in your landscape, and some significance in each of them. Asteraceae goes by a lot of different names. Some people will call it the aster family, the daisy family, the sunflower family, and then composite. Composite is something you will frequently hear them described at, and the reason for that is this looks like a single flower, and I think most people identify something like this echinacea as a single flower, but what you're actually looking at is a flower it's made up of many flowers together, and each of those individual flowers will produce a seed, which is one way you get pretty good at making lots and lots of seed, is you attract pollinators in, and then you make lots of seed in every single one of these composites. And the rays around the outside are just meant to draw in pollinators, and they come in all kinds of colors, as you guys know, and you're about to see. But echinacea, this is one that's a southeastern native, and I've got many varieties. There's many species of echinacea, and many hybrids, many named varieties. Lots of pollinators love them. Of course, then the goldfinches come along, and other birds come along and take some of the seed in the fall, but plenty of it. It makes plenty of good seed, and lots of those seeds get out and come up each year. Here's another example of an aster. This is Liatris, which is again another native, and you can see a very different flower than the echinacea, but it's a composite. What you're looking at, you feel like as you're standing back that each of these are individual flowers, but if you take one of these off, it's actually it's a composite of several different flowers, and it's amazing. Most plants in Asteraceae, in this family of plants, are herbaceous. They're either annual, biennial, meaning they live for a couple of seasons, or they're perennial, and they're herbaceous. They die back to the ground, and they never develop really woody stems. You can kind of tell they're perennial because the bottom of the stem during the summer is a kind of heavier duty than annuals would be. But they do. Most of them do die back to the ground. When you're dealing with 32,000 species, though, there are a few shrubs, trees, and vines as well. But most are herbaceous, and I've got a bee trying to check out this one right now. The sunflower genera is called Helianthus, and I've got several different Helianthus here. This is a Mexican or a Western sunflower right here, and we'll jump over to the other side and show you a different one. Here's another Helianthus, and you can see, more typical of what people think of when they think of sunflowers. This one's, I'm 6 foot tall, and this one's already 6 foot tall here in the middle of June. This one doesn't have that big giant sunflower that most of us are used to, but this one, instead of having just one single flower or composite on it, or group of flowers on it, this one will bloom all summer long. I also have Tithonia, which is the Mexican sunflower, or called the Mexican sunflower as well. It tends to bloom a little later in the season. I didn't know I was giving this bee a ride while I was moving that around, if you guys saw that. Once you know what you're looking for, this family of plants is pretty easy to identify because, again, it's a composite. It's lots of different flowers growing together. They're almost impossible to identify from their foliage. There are Western things like Senecio, which look like a desert plant. It looks like something that doesn't look anything like an aster that'd be native to the southeast United States or Europe. The foliage can be alternate, like on this sunflower. Alternate meaning one leaf is here, and then the stem grows, then another leaf is here, another leaf is here. You can have opposite leaves, where two leaves are on the just opposite sides of the stem, and then you can have whorled leaves, like on this zinnia, where the leaf is basically attached right at the stem. You see that? So you can see how you'd have an impossible time actually identifying one from the stem, but the flowers make them very easy. So here we are with zinnias, which are vast amounts of zinnias that have been hybridized for the cut flower industry, and then here's cosmos there as well, both of these in the Asteraceae. Coming out of the backside of this coneflower is one we actually call aster. This is a fall blooming aster. It's a perennial, grows all summer, and then toward the fall it will bloom. Another one that you guys know is a fall blooming plant is chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum is a big commercial plant for the horticulture industry, and another late summer or fall blooming one we'll jump to now. This is solidago or goldenrod. These typically bloom mid to late summer and into fall, and in fact they're species that go from Canada all the way down into Mexico. The ones up in the north start blooming earlier, and you could probably follow them down through the middle of the country and right into Mexico during the fall. And the species, it's different species as you go, but another North American native. A few more in my annual beds. Melonpodium. This is another good, great summer flowering annual. Good at seeding itself too, so keep that in mind. There are lots of zinnias back here. I've already pointed out the zinnias, but I thought I'd point out a more compact, newer variety. These profusion zinnias, they super compact. So there's a heck of a lot of breeding going on in these plants. This is a big, they're certainly more important plant families to humans. Grasses, Poaceae, being wheat, corn, and rice, are very important. But we've made the most of Asteraceae too in the horticulture industry with the flowers and the cut flower business, and then of course sunflower oils, and there are foods as well produced from them as well. So we do make the most. We do make the most of these. Marigolds also are in that group, and of course you'll see marigolds every summer, all over the place with their very distinctive smell. So let's jump to another annual border. Got several ageratum out here. Ageratum kind of remind you more of the Liatris, where you have, instead of having a single composite like on this marigold or a sunflower, you have multiple composites fused together. This is just a ton of seed that can be made from this, and this makes teeny tiny seed. If you've ever seeded ageratum. There are a few other hybrid asters down here that will jump up here in the next few weeks and bloom later in the summer. And one thing I wanted to point out real quick, here's some marigolds that the bunnies have been enjoying. The rabbits do tend to love a lot of our asters in the garden. Walked around the whole landscape and almost left off Gerber daisies, another one that most people know in the landscape with its near perfect flowers. So I talked about the commercial aspect of this group of plants, the Asteraceae with the sunflower oil, and then of course the cut flowers, and people love them so they buy them. But really, maybe the main star is lettuce as a plant that humans enjoy. I'm toward the end of June here, and I've left my lettuce in place because it's bolting now or sending up flowers that will soon produce seed, and I will collect the seed on my lettuce. But lettuce is in the Asteraceae. Probably my absolute favorite from this group are dahlias, and have lots and lots of dahlias in this landscape if you follow along with the channel. Aster means star in Greek, and you can see where they might have come up with that idea. Here's another one of the star-shaped dahlias. That one has crossed between several that are in my in the landscape out here. I figured I would finish on another one that most folks know, which is rudbeckia, another North American native. One thing about this plant family being so large and so varied and all over the world, from the deserts to the tropics to the to temperate regions all over the world, and looking so different, many of them have traveled with people different places and have become pretty bad weeds. Things like tumbleweeds, ragweed, bidens, dandelions. There's lots of them that are weeds. The rabbits, of course, and others would disagree on the dandelions because they love them so much, but they have been moved around the globe, and many of them again have become weeds in the areas that they show up in, because again, they're so good at producing seed. If they find a place that they're happy, they can very quickly take over a space. So I told you the dahlias are my favorite aster, or plant from the Asteraceae. Tell me what's yours. Cosmos is a favorite of many folks, and some of the other things I've shown in the landscape, plus many other plants in this plant family that I don't have represented in my landscape. I thought it'd be interesting just to go through the landscape and show you a lot of the plants that are related, that are that you may or may not have known were related, and I'm going to do a few of the other plant families as well. Thanks for following along.